Hey everyone. So this is the third video in the character philosophy series. The first one was about Doomfist, which did really well. The second one was about Anna, which did very poorly. Mainly because I posted it during the Thanksgiving weekend, so nobody watched it. I think it's standing at like 500 views. So I'm actually thinking of taking it down and reposting it because I want my views, damn it. Like I spent so much time on it. It took like an entire day, so that's something I'm considering. Anyways, today we have Reinhardt, and as many of you already know, the way we have these categories broken down for the tanks is the universal stats, which are effective HP and damage output, and the role specific stats, which are crowd control, damage prevention, and sustainability. So effective HP is pretty straightforward. It factors in all the HP the character has from armor and shields and just regular HP, and kind of puts that on a universal scale so that we can compare with the other roles. The next one is damage output, which is also pretty obvious. Is essentially the damage potential of a character, like how much they can do. So the role specific stats are kind of defining characteristics of the tank role, and the first one is a CC, crowd control, which it's a trait that's been reserved for the tank specifically. Well, mostly because we'll get into that later. So there's crowd control, damage mitigation. Damage mitigation is the things that a tank could do to prevent themselves from taking damage. And then we have sustainability. Sustainability is the tank's ability to essentially put on HP in a way that doesn't stop them from doing other things, right? Because if you're just putting on HP and you can't do anything else, that's just kind of damage prevention, right? You're just kind of putting up a shield. So with these three characteristics, we have the combined stat we want for crowd control, damage prevention, and sustainability to be around 11, where it's balanced. Or else, if you have a character who has a 5 in all of these stats, they'll be a 15, and that'll be pretty OP unless you take it out of their like HP or their damage. So that makes the max score possible for a tank 21, which is different from the max score of a support character. I think for them it was, I don't know, was it 15 or something like that? So yeah, we would like the max of all three of those stats to kind of max out at around 11 combined. We then go over the overall character value score, and that is the combination of all the stats we just listed, and we just kind of add them up and then divide it by the total. And then I keep everything on a scale from 1 to 5. I'm starting to think maybe 10 was better because it's easier for people to kind of gauge that, but it is what it is. Maybe I'll do it at the end because I'm still updating things as I'm going through. So yeah. So after each of these categories, we go into ease of play, which is generally just how easy or how much value you can get out of the character with in a ratio of how much skill you need to have with the character. Some characters are easier than others. So the reason I have it like this is because some characters have a really high value score, but they're also very difficult to play, which I think is the way it should be, right? Really easy characters should probably have a less value score because that'll be kind of cheap, right? Kind of cheesy. And then after we have that, we go into the character's ultimates, which from my analysis, what I've seen, it seems like the ultimates are an amplification of one of the traits that the character has. And from what I've seen with tanks, whatever they are missing out on kind of seems to be represented in their ultimates, but we'll get into that more later. So anyways, with that, let's begin. So Reinhardt has a lot of HP. The problem is that he has to be very close to the enemy to be able to get any value, which he normally gets melted really fast, unless you have a really good healer on you. You can't really swing your hammer without risk of losing like a third of your HP, like immediately. He has an effective HP of 754, which is a lot, but it goes by really fast. However, this is just to analyze his effective HP, right? So all that other stuff for how fast it goes away and how fast it comes back, that'll be kind of looked more into damage mitigation and sustainability. But for now, we're just looking at the raw numbers of his HP. So for this, he gets a 5. It's a ton of HP, and I know my numbers, it's possible that it's not correct, but it's still around ballpark the same. They just change it so much that the sites I go to kind of calculate it, they could be wrong. So, it is what it is. Anyways, next we go into his damage output. Reinhardt deals an absurd amount of damage. he gets a 5 here. Easily gets a 5 over here. Like, if you know what you're doing, you go into a fight and then you get to charge your ultimate like 1.5 times, right? You get your ult and then you use it and then you're already back at like 50%. That's how powerful he is. Every one of his attacks just hits multiple people, and each one of those hits is a ton of damage, right? So you can kill anybody with like 3 or 4 hits, right? If they're being healed, especially if you have a mercy on you that's damage boosting you. Each of your hammer swings is the damage is comparable to a Genji ult's sword swing, just a lot slower. So you get what I'm saying. But yeah, his fire strike hits several people for like, I forget what it does. Like, is it 85 damage or 90? No, I think that's his hammer swing. His hammer swing does 85 damage per swing, which is crazy. But his fire strike does 100 damage, and both of those hit everybody. Like, it can hit several people. So yeah, he is a damage, just a destructive force if he's able to get into the fight. And on top of that, he has his charge, which does 225 damage if you're able to pin somebody. So yeah, this is just a wash. He's insanely powerful. And once you're actually like in a brawl, there's almost nothing that can stop you besides a ton of damage. But you get a good healer, and then you can keep that going. But yeah, like I said, the main issue is him actually getting into the fight. But I think that's just a skill issue, in my opinion, right? After a while, you kind of learn how to approach the enemy, right? You don't just walk on the road, right? You kind of take advantage of your covers. You kind of learn how to like kind of weave in and out to kind of slowly get close, and you kind of learn how to do that over time. So I think that's something that comes with time, and this will be factored into the ease to play section. Anyways, as for crowd control now, Reinhardt doesn't really have CC like that outside of his charge and his ultimate, but the ultimate is a separate, it's its own section. So that's why I give him a 1.5 for CC. So it's really only his charge, right? If you've seen my gameplay with Ryan, I love charging. I charge all the time. However, it's really risky, so you really only aim to do it when you can pin somebody close by, or else if you're going too far, you're gonna die, right? Because that's just the character he is. Right, because he needs to be around his team to be able to give him more healing, or else he just gets melted all the time. So it's a great way to kind of boop people, and I know you can stop it now, so you can get close to the edge and then kind of let somebody go out. But everybody has like some like teleporting thing now, or like some mid-air movement ability, and even the boop on when you hit somebody and you kind of just move them to the side is pretty inconsequential. So I personally think that this move should probably be buffed, and was it his charge? I think it should be buffed, mainly because I don't know. I think he should take like less damage while he's charging. They gave it to Mauga for some reason, so I don't. It makes less sense because he doesn't even really have armor. I think they're gonna add in some armor to him, but he's just a guy. I'm sure some of his bones are like metal now because he got all those cyberpunk upgrades, but. Yeah, like, come on, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so next let's go into damage prevention. So damage prevention, Ryan's main way to mitigate damage is his shield, right? That's kind of his defining factor. He has a very powerful shield that when you learn how to shield dance correctly, you can really extend your life by like, I don't know, 2 times as long or 3 times as long. There's times where I walk into a fight without having my shield, knowing that I got a good support behind me, so I'm just gonna tank the damage and then walk up, do some swings so that my shield is kind of good, right? I alternate my body and my shield to prolong how long I live, to make some space for my team. It's not always about the damage, but again, if you're a good Reinhardt, you're probably not even using your shield that much. It's more of a selfish tool. I do understand that. So you learn how to play the game. That's the whole skill part of playing Reinhardt. Because there's nothing worse than needing your shield when you don't have it. Well, you can kind of just tank some damage, and then you have it for backup in the middle of a brawl. But yeah, the problem with this, however, is this shield was made for Overwatch 1, where people weren't that mobile, because now what a lot of people just do, they just kind of walk around you, just start shooting you from the back, and you can't turn around and start hitting them because the enemy is actually in front of you, so you have to rely on your team to shoo that character away, or you could turn around, probably swipe them once, and then you have to turn back and put your shield in front of you. So it's just, there's too many ways around it. So that's why I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. Because again, it does keep you alive. And I would say one of the advice I give people when playing Reinhardt is if your HP goes down like a lot in a short amount of time, just put up your shield and walk backwards. And then if you have a decent support character, they're going to bring you back to like half your HP. Like they'll heal you a ton. That's all you really need to do. Put your shield up and walk backwards. Your team's going to take care of you. Then you could go back in. But I also don't want to downgrade that. This might be, well, it's not the only one, but it's probably the best one. The best shield at protecting your team, right? Because you can move it along with you so you can position yourself for your team. Like when I see a Mercy trying to res somebody, I walk up in front of the Mercy and put my shield up. Like it's super useful. So yes, next let's go into sustainability. Reinhardt has 0 for sustain. This is easily Ryan's biggest weakness, which it does make sense, but it also doesn't make sense because if he did have sustainability, he would be stupid strong. But it doesn't make sense that he doesn't have any sustainability while he's the character that needs the most sustainability. Because again, he's the only character that can't do anything while generating HP. So you can maybe make the argument that his shield is some form of sustainability, but no, it's not, right? It does regenerate, but I don't think that's any different from like a cooldown, going down or something. Ryan could only either fight or block, and that's what makes him so resource heavy. He was just made in a different time, and I do think his design needs some updates. So for overall value, what I've noticed about tank characters who are completely missing out on one of the roles that are specific for their traits is that they tend to just make it all up in raw damage, and they also supplement that with their ultimates, which we'll get into after this section. Well, after this section and then the East to Play section. So for Reinhardt, overall scores was a 5 for HP, a 5 for damage, 1.5 for CC, 3.5 for damage prevention, and 0 for sustainability, which makes it a 15 out of 21, giving him a score of 3.55 out of 5. Again, I do this out of 5, right? Out of 10, it's like, I don't know, 7.1 or something. So it's still a decent score. Right, and it does seem fair and pretty right, because after Diamond, unless you have like a good healer, Ryan becomes very difficult to play. Like you just, not for any reasons that involve skill. Well, not mainly for what involves skill. It's just because of his kit, right? He just has no way to sustain himself. He's just so resource dependent on his team. Again, he has no sustainability, but requires the most sustainment to be able to do anything. But you can basically one-trick Reinhardt all the way up to Platinum and like low Diamond, to be honest, because his attack power is so high that it kind of just counters like any skill your opponents would have at that level. Which brings us to East to Play. But yeah, 3.55 out of 5 isn't that bad, right? So now for East to Play. So for East to Play, he gets a 4.5. I actually can't really think of many characters that are easier to play than Reinhardt, right? You got Mercy, you got Junkrat, yeah, but definitely of all the tanks, I do think he's the easiest one to get value off of, like right off the bat. Specifically from Bronze to Plat, and we're talking about his kit, right? His kit is pretty simplistic. Even my friends who barely play Overwatch can pick him up and just go ham, and it's like they play like moderately well because he's just like hold and swing, turn around, put your shield up and somebody's shooting at you, wait for healing. You just kind of walk in and start swinging, and you get value out of it. And it also kind of justifies a score, right? Because you don't want a character that's so easy to play that also just gives like stupid high value, right? Especially at like the higher levels. It's not fair. You want them to be designed in a way that kind of rewards you for learning the hard character, learning the nuances of a hard character, and just things like that. I think that's a good way to design characters. I would say the main hard thing about playing Ryan is just knowing how to approach a fight, right? That's the only thing he doesn't really have, well, other than a complete lack of sustainability. So it's just really that, kind of knowing when to disengage, learning how to shield dance. But yeah, even my friends who play Reinhardt, they are complete trash at doing this, but they still get value out of it when we're playing quick play. I don't play competitive with them. So, but if you have a pocket healer that's just kind of taking care of you like a newborn child, you would easily get your way up to Diamond. Easy. Like it's nothing. I played one game once where it was in quick play, and this one timid Ryan he wasn't that good, but I was like, bro, I was playing support. I was like, bro, let me just pocket you. And I was playing Mercy. And I was like, just go in, I'll keep you alive. Don't even use your shield unless I tell you to use your shield. And then when I tell you to put your shield up and walk backwards. We wrecked. We went through the team like toilet paper. It was ridiculous, and he had no idea how strong Reinhardt was, especially if he was being boosted by a Mercy. He just killed the whole team. He ended the game with like 30 limbs, and he had never done that before. Actually, I don't know if he'd never done that before, but he was so surprised. It seemed like he had never done that before. He definitely never did that before. But that's how easy it was. Anyways, let's get into his ult right now. So for his ultimate. Like I said before, ults on tanks tend to make up for something that they're lacking in. So Reinhardt is lacking in sustainability and CC, so this makes up for his lack of CC, right? I think his ultimate is one of the best ultimates in the game, so I give this a 4. 4 out of 5 in the CC category. And unless all you have to do is, line yourself up responsibility with the enemy team and kind of just hit the ground, and you could like wipe out the entire team, right? The only problem with this ult is, you have Kiriko's that can Suzu everybody, you got Anna's that can nade the team, you got Baptiste with the mortality field, you have Lifeweaver that can pedal everybody up into the air or pull them out, and this is all ridiculous, right? And the only other risk with this ult is if you die like mid-animation or gets left or something. So those are the only main problems with it, but this ultimate is very powerful, one of the best in the game. It wipes teams. So yeah, in conclusion, he has a total value score of 3.5 out of 5 and an ease to play score of 4, which means that he's a decent character that's easy to get value off of, but he's not like OP or anything, which I think is a good way to design easy to play characters. I do think he needs a buff to his sustain, because he's the only tank that doesn't have any sustain, while it's the tank that needs the most sustain to be able to function. So he just kind of requires too many resources. He was just made in a different era, I guess. Anyways, that's it for this one. Don't forget to leave a comment for the algorithm, like and subscribe, and don't forget, I love you.